It's the final day of Cosmoverse. How do you like it so far?
It's been always great. This is my fourth Cosmoverse conference. Been part of every Cosmoverse conference. Luckily, this time it was in Dubai. I haven't traveled at all this year, but being in Dubai, I'm based in Dubai, so it was like a good opportunity. And this conference, I feel like, is almost like a new breaking point for Cosmos as a whole, where it's kind of transitioning from being like an ecosystem, a lot of like kind of dependence on just like one asset or one chain, to becoming more like Cosmos as a tech stack, where almost like every chain is using Cosmos tech stack, and now it just is they're building for like different purposes, right? So I feel like Cosmos is moving from inwards to outwards, and this is very evident in this conference for the first time. Like people have moved away from just talking about Atom, for example, and like they're talking more about what are the strengths of having like Cosmos tech stack, how they are improving, how they're using to they say solve problems in Bitcoin or real world assets or derivatives, for example, DYDX. So I feel like that's been the theme of this conference.
Sounds really inspiring. Can you tell us your name and what do you do here, sir?
Absolutely. My name is Abhitej. I was a very early community contributor to Cosmos back in 2018. I founded Cosmos India. That's why I was like so deeply invested. But last year, 2023, I decided to start Filament, which is our derivatives protocol. And our focus is on solving two problems. One is how do you scale derivative markets, ensuring that the capital efficiency and trading efficiency is retained. The second frontier for us majorly is how do we make derivatives more accessible and easier for users to get onboarded on. So that's more like how do you create more nuanced interfaces for end users to get started with like derivatives. So that's Filament. We're currently building on Say network, which is kind of like a multi-VM environment built on top of Cosmos again. But like we're focused more on the EVM side of like the same. So, yeah.
Why did you choose this particular platform to build on?
Particularly in when it comes to Say, it was a very conscious decision because we wanted speed. So we launched actually Filament earlier, like on multiple chains. We launched on one chain, but then went on to experiment on multiple other EVM chains. None of them really meeting our requirement because we have an off-chain and on-chain component. Both of them have to work asynchronously together, so speed was a crucial part of it. At the same time, Say was working on parallelized EVM, and they went on with the mainnet live. We were still waiting for some other chains to launch the same, but they didn't. And so Say became like a very unique opportunity in two ways. One, it offers you to be on this multi-VM environment. You can actually access all the Cosmos users or like the IBC users, as well as all the EVM users. So you're funneling in users from both sides. The second thing is the time to finality is only like 400 milliseconds, which works really well for our product. So those are like some of the key reasons why we're building on Say. And along with the EVM interaction, they get a lot of tooling, which was not possible with like say Cosmwasm or like other new VMs that are coming in. So that's the reason why we're building on Say.
Can you tell us, as you are a true Cosmos OG, can you tell us why Cosmonauts are a unique community?
Absolutely. I feel like Cosmos in general, like always the grassroots community has been builders and very, very like tech focused, solving kind of like problems that are a little ahead of the time, which has offered both as like a curse and a boon for Cosmos. But if you really look at it, like so many problems that were, for example, interoperability or where it comes like shared security, those are kind of like things that other ecosystems are working on now. Those are problems that Cosmos solved way ahead, right? So way ahead of the time and in production, which is like having real value for that, multiple chains launch. And now still like, even like all the top chains, I would say in current mindshare you talk about are built on Cosmos SDK for the same reason, because it has a lot of customizability and sovereignty for it. So the whole community built around this idea of saying want to like take forward of how like blockchain or decentralization look like is been unique, and but the downside of it has been like too much decentralization at the start kind of like makes it very hard to push things forward. How was the that one like kind of like spearhead that community arranges themselves behind? That's been a challenge. So it's been unique in this way. It's very decentralized community. It's very open community. You could be from any ecosystem and still gel up with Cosmos works. And that's why I feel like Cosmos has such widely accepted kind of like reputation in terms of saying it's a place for hardcore builders, but maybe not users. That's the challenge of the scalability of just building with Cosmos.
We've been discussing it all day that Cosmos and crypto in general needs more product. And by the way, did you get any airdrops in Cosmos?
I did. I did a lot of airdrops. I did get a lot of airdrops. I think so for me, the airdrop that I've held for the longest and I still believe in has been Osmo. So Osmo was a good airdrop. Tia was another really good airdrop, and like you had, like I got multiple like Chihuahua. If I had sold it on right time at the right kind of like mind share, probably would have made a good buck. But I just held on to it. So yeah, there's a bunch of like I don't know. Maybe I've made like more 40 or 50 airdrops, more chain slots, more application slots. I've always gotten an airdrop. So.
With all of these steps, we're just getting more and more experience how we should manage our portfolio in the right way. And do you have any funny story related to Cosmos which you can share with us?
I would say funny, but in like a tragic comedy would be like holding UST. So I was a degen, right? So like 2020, 2021, I degened hardcore on the DeFi summer. And I was like, at any given day, I was looping in between like 4 to 5 products to like maximize yield. You had yams and sushis and and so many different protocols launching. At some days like 8,000% APR as well. So I did a bunch of that, but I got a lot of that capital within Cosmos because I was trying to like staking and do a bunch of stuff to like keep on making that reoccurring yield. But like as I was starting to see the downtrend in market, I said, oh, I want to hold stables. In Cosmos, there were no stables but UST, and converted a large amount of that into UST. But then UST collapse happened, and my most of the UST was locked into Osmo UST pool. By the time I could get that out and unbonded, it was worth pennies and had like this massive kind of downtrend. It took some time to get over that, but looking back, it seems like a funny story in terms of how you make this. As that's why crypto is said to be this paper money. You make this internet money, which you could be a millionaire one day and almost like into rags the other day, right? With just like something like UST. So
Absolutely, just like UST, some banners are collapsing on the background, and like just to wrap it up, let's do it real quick. Cosmos or EVM?
as a builder, I would say EVM ecosystem for sure. Much more tooling, much more larger user base. People have much more like the intrinsic value of creating an EVM is much higher. Long term, I feel like Cosmos is more like customizability, where like ideally like the philosophy of blockchain would converge with what Cosmos initially went on to. Today, I would say EVM.
Sounds like better consider both, like for the long-term run.
I feel like some of the philosophies for them to be long term, they should keep like staying relevant. Cosmos, like the popular opinion is Cosmos is dead, but Cosmos is not. You see this and write this in this conference. You see it everywhere in terms of chains adopting it. But I feel like, will people really adopt it as a philosophy at the forefront? If nobody really talks about it, the idea kind of like starts to diminish, which should not happen. So I feel like in long term, just like more people need to utilize it, talk more about why they choose Cosmos, and like say that is what eventually this chain Yoda always talks about this. For example, every chain is a Cosmos chain until they realize it. But like that thought process should stay long enough for people to say, oh yeah, you call this concept Cosmos, right? So that's one. And I feel like EVM has always stayed as like the center hub. They were the first mover advantage. A lot of like everything that is built out today has almost like sprung up from like EVM in terms of the programmability. And so ultimately like all the contributions kind of converge back to EVM. So that's why I'm like super bullish on EVM right now, although that's also a contrarian opinion with Ethereum right now. But so if I see like EVM as a development environment keep on growing and growing, and Cosmos as a philosophy keep growing.
All right, thank you, sir, so much. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.